Hello there and welcome to today's vlog. Now we have continued to progress in settling into our new home in this status called retirement. Lots of people who've been retired tell me you get more busy when you're retired than you were when you were working full time, and yeah, there's plenty to do at the moment. One of the things we've been doing is sorting out our garden, and today Sue and I went to a local garden centre. Actually, we didn't buy many plants, but we did have a very nice coffee and scone in the restaurant. But anyway, we bought a few plants, and they're now in the border out the front of the house. I want to tell you a little bit about medical matters. I've lived 65 years and not really troubled the National Health Service very much, just on the odd occasion with minor things over the years. But since we've moved to Doncaster in retirement, it seems that the NHS want to have contact with me, and so let's tell you what's happening. Tomorrow, Saturday, is or that'll be today when you're watching this, maybe. But anyway, tomorrow we're going to the doctors for a flu jab. They rang us up, said, "Would you like to come?" Or actually, didn't say, "Would you like to?" Said, "Would you come on this date and time?" So we're going. Secondly, as I expected or half expected, and if you've been watching before, you'll know my blood pressure's been a bit high. Well, I've got to go back to the surgery for another blood pressure test, but more daunting really. They want to take some blood, so they'll test my blood. I really don't like needles, so that's 2 needles in a week. I've got to go for the blood test next week, and then that's not all, because I got a letter. I need to read this, so I need to get the bit of paper to invite me. Apparently they do this for all men who have reached the age of 65 to go for an abdominal aortic aneurysm screening. So there you go. Apparently there's possibility, especially in men, that as you get older, excuse me, there might be an aneurysm in your aorta, so you need to go for screening. So that's going to happen in a few weeks' time. So I'm getting my money's worth out of the NHS. Quite a funny little incident yesterday. Sue and I out for a walk. I like to go walking, as I've mentioned before, lovely partner here, often go for a walk in the park. Anyway, Sue and I out for a stroll last night, and some lads coming towards us, some teenage lads, but they seemed okay, and said hello as they passed, and then one other teenage lad coming towards us down this path, and just as he drew near, he looked across and said, "How do?" Now I thought that's correct. He was back in Yorkshire. How do is a typical old Yorkshire greeting, something I haven't heard for a long time, so that was quite funny. But anyway, the main point I want to share with you today comes from my continuing journey through Mark's Gospel, and this is that period where Jesus has sent out the apostles, the disciples. Those 2 words are used interchangeably really in Mark. Anyway, sends them out on a mission journey, and they come back and report to Jesus. And Jesus and the disciples have been pretty weary. They've been ministering almost non-stop. It's difficult for them to get any time off. So Jesus says, let's get away from the crowds for a while and rest. And it's that call to rest that I want to focus on. Sometimes people think that resting or taking time out is sinful almost, that we need to be constantly working. But of course, God created human beings with a rhythm of life, and part of that rhythm is rest. In fact, I've said often that I used to love that old Mars bar advert that says a Mars a day helps you work, rest and play, and that's seemed to me a pretty good thing. So rest is part of God's intention for our human rhythm of life. And if we don't take our rest, then we're not living as God intended us to do. Sometimes I've come across ministers, church leaders who are utterly workaholics. And it seems to me they're setting a bad example to the people in their church and almost making a rod for the back of those who come after them. So God intends us to take time of rest. And having thinking about our situation, Sue and I, we've come to Doncaster several weeks ago. We've not yet had opportunity to go to a church. We've not get involved in a church because of the COVID situation. And I really sense that God is giving us this time as a time of rest, a time of recovery, because I was pretty tired after 30 years of ministry, which I loved, but it's tiring. So I'm just trying to take this as a time of rest. Yes, be open to what God may be saying for the future, but enjoying this time of rest and relaxation. So Jesus calls the disciples away to be with him, to a lonely place, a quiet place, and rest. But the best laid plans, as they say, because they get into a boat to go off somewhere quiet, but the people see them leaving and dash over, and it says a vast crowd was there as Jesus stepped from the boat. So you might think that Jesus and the disciples gone off for a period of rest, a quiet place, and yet they get to the shore and there's this vast crowd waiting for them, longing, wanting them, desiring them to minister to them. Now, I don't know about you, but if that had been me, I'd be pretty cheesed off. You've gone for some rest and yet you're met with this great need, this great crowd. How did Jesus respond? Well, of course, it says, as he stepped from the boat, he had compassion on them because they were like sheep without a shepherd. And he spent time and he taught them and he ministered to them. And so that's twin things really from that passage. Yes, God calls us to rest. That is part of the rhythm of life. And if we're not taking those rest times, those times away, times to be alone, times to have fun, time to be with God. If all our focus is on doing the stuff, then we're missing out on what we're called to be in that place of rest in God's presence. But secondly, we need to pray, as I pray so often over the years, for a heart of compassion, compassion of Jesus. May his compassion be seen in me. Rest. Pray for the compassion of Jesus, that we may minister in his grace and love. So God bless you. Thank you so much for listening today.